Remember all the snow that used to be there? Well, it's not there anymore! Our weather's so nice now that I don't even need a jacket to come outside. Before I started my video, I just wanted to brag a little bit. This is my second time recording this. The first time I didn't hit record and talked for an entire 5 or 6 minutes before I realized that the little red dot wasn't on the camera. So I've got my lunch bar, my orange juice, and I'm going to try again. I've been thinking for a while about how I want to start this series that I've been talking about. And I couldn't think of a very good starting point without just delving in. But I felt like I should say something to begin with, to introduce what I think is the basic idea of humanism. Well, just over the weekend, a person who I'd been friends with for 6 years, just about, decided to send me one of the most brutal breakup notes I've ever gotten before. And among a myriad of other things, she called me mean and judgmental. Now, I consider myself a pretty self-aware person. I know, or I feel like I know, a good part of what my personality is derived from. Whether I'm caring, whether I am mean, that kind of thing. So it didn't come as a surprise to me that she said these things. However, for some reason, when she called me judgmental, it rang within me, and it got me to thinking. I think every human being on the planet is judgmental, and I don't think that there's a way around this. As human beings, we have to classify things. We have to put things into a little category, because if we don't put things into categories, our brain doesn't understand them. Up to a point. We need to know the color of things, the shape of things, how, the feeling of things, that sort of thing. And when we categorize everything that we see, that also includes other human beings. So I think it would be very hard as one of the human species to not judge humans. Most of the time, I don't think our judgmental nature gets in the way. And like I said, I think it's impossible not to judge other human beings, just based on what we have floating around in our head, our morals, our thoughts, what we've been told, what other people's opinions are, that kind of thing. It's very hard not to judge someone, and I wouldn't even ask you to try not to judge somebody, because it is impossible. We may judge others within our minds, but it depends on what we do with that judgment, and that's the important part. If, for example, you, in your head, if you've classified black people as lazy, stupid, uneducated, that sort of thing, that's your judgment in your head. What the difference is what you're going to do with that judgment. Because of your judgment, are you going to treat black people to be lesser than you? Are you going to treat them inferior? Or are you just going to let them go their own way and not interact with them at all? I'm not saying that I would agree with your judgment. Like I said, I think the important distinction here is the actions that you take because of your judgments. The other thing that our judgments are good for is it makes us take a personal inventory of what we perceive as our morals. And then we put them together with what are society's morals. What are the morals of my friends? What are the morals of my parents? And then through that, you can form your own judgment of something or someone. The great thing about judgments and making them is that they're not permanent. If you want to change the way that you perceive people with tattoos and piercings, then you can change that. You can actively go out and speak to those people and learn how they are, instead of just keeping your judgment from what your parents told you in your head. So do I agree with her statement that I'm judgmental and mean? I actually do agree with it. I agree with it a lot. I'm an extremely judgmental person. I will be until the day I die. perhaps I shouldn't voice as many of my judgments as I have in the past because it makes me seem like a pessimistic person. And that's something that I am actively trying to change because I see what it's done to my family. I see what pessimism has done to their morale in life, and I don't want to become that. I think the reason that I vocalize my judgments so often is because I either want validation or I want somebody to disagree with me and give me a reason why I shouldn't be judging the way that I am. But it's never to impress my morals upon anyone else. We're all going through this struggle together, and for me to say that I'm ahead in any way of anyone else, I don't think is fair, because there's a lot of things that I need to improve on. So we'll start there with judgments. The important things I want you to take away from this video are: it is impossible not to judge other human beings. As a species, we put things into categories, including other human beings. What is most important is the actions that you take according to the judgments that you have already made. If your judgment is that someone is stupider than you, and yet you take no action against it, then, in my opinion, you really haven't done any harm except to yourself, because you're not opening your mind to what that person could potentially be. And I think that's a good starting point, because from here on out I want to talk about things like sexism, racism, ageism. I want to talk about hate crimes, that kind of thing, and how they all, how we're all just related to each other within these few things. So any suggestions will always be welcome. Anybody who wants to contribute anything, always welcome. I read every single one of my comments. I don't necessarily reply. Sometimes I can't think of a reply. Sometimes I need to think about what I want to say in a reply, things like that. So always leave comments because I'm always reading them.